The all-new Nissan Murano. It's a great SUV ruined by one thing, and in this video I'll tell you exactly what it is. I'm also going to talk what this thing is from a technical standpoint, how I feel about the interior space, and obviously what it's like to drive it. So let's get started. So the Murano has always been one of the more interesting vehicles in Nissan's lineup, and I'm not gonna lie, I've always liked it, especially the Cross Cabrio. Now when you look at the newest 4th generation, it has a little bit more conservative styling, but it still looks very unique, and I think Nissan crushed it. But the design isn't everything, so let's talk about some technical stuff and what Nissan changed in the new model. Now, as a two-row mid-size SUV, this thing uses a modified front-wheel drive platform from the Pathfinder, so we have a strut-front suspension, multi-link setup in the back combined with frequency-sensitive dampers, which aren't adaptive per se. You cannot adjust the damping power, but they change their characteristics based on the driving conditions, so you can have better damping when you hit potholes or improve body control when you enter corners. Nissan also put a good amount of effort to reduce NVH. We have lots of isolators and deadening materials, laminated side windows, active noise cancellation, and I can already tell you, the ride comfort is pretty high in this thing. Now, another big change in the new Murano is the powertrain. First of all, the naturally aspirated V6 and the infamous CVT are gone. So we have a 241 horsepower 2-liter turbo 4 mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission with all-wheel drive as standard starting in 2026. 2025 to where front-wheel drive standard and all-wheel drive was an option, but that's no longer the case. So the terrible CVT is gone, and you may think it's a change for better. Well, yes and no. I am happy to see a conventional 9-speed automatic, but the engine is a variable compression unit, so something that Nissan has been pushing in their vehicles for the past few years. Basically what it means is that the engine can have a different compression ratio based on the driving conditions. When you need more power and torque, the compression ratio is lowered, allowing you for more boost from the turbocharger, and when you drive normally, the compression ratio will be higher for better fuel economy. It sounds like a good idea, but it doesn't really work. The tuning of the engine is far from perfect, and if you expect some crazy MPG numbers, you'll be disappointed. I averaged around 20 miles per gallon in the city, 28 on a highway, and 22, 23 combined, so far from perfect for a groundbreaking technology. Lastly, let's talk about the Murano's trims and pricing. We start with an SV model for $41,000, then we have an SL for around $47,000, which seems like the sweet spot, and in case of our tester, the top-of-the-line Platinum with some options checked, you're looking at mid-50s. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive this thing, let's take a look inside and talk about the interior space. Boy, oh boy, those seats are comfy, but we're gonna talk about them in a second. Now, generally speaking, when you look at the cabin, it is a pretty good and positive surprise. Even though the design is pretty minimalistic, it still features some physical controls or haptic controls, so I cannot complain about ergonomics. There are different textures, colors, and I think it's safe to say that of all mainstream Japanese brands, Nissan does the best job, and as much as I hate using that term, there are some premium flares, and the cabin looks and feels pretty upscale. The technology implementation is also good. We have a Google-based infotainment system with Google Maps as your navigation, and for the most part, the system is pretty logical to use. You can control it either via a touchscreen or a controller on the steering wheel for some menus, and if I were to change one thing, it would be its graphical interface. It just looks like it's about 15 years old. Also, the camera resolution is slow, giving you 2010s vibes. But the gauge cluster is clean, it's easy to read, it displays all information you need, including a map. So yeah, once they fix the graphics, this is going to be a 9 out of 10 cabin. Now, the usability. Even though the Murano isn't necessarily a family-oriented SUV, it has lots of storage across the cabin. We have a wireless charger, big and deep space under the armrest, and the door pockets also will fit everything you need. The cargo area isn't breathtaking, but it is spacious, especially after folding the seats down, and again, you're not buying the Murano for its practicality, you're buying it because you like its design. But the rear legroom and headroom will surprise you in a good way. There aren't many compromises in the back, and we have climate vents, heated outer seats in the stop trim, and USB-C charging ports, so Nissan didn't forget about your passengers in the second row. The front seats, like I said, are amazing, probably the best in the segment. They're super soft, very comfortable. They're obviously heated and cooled, and even have a pseudo massage mode for your back, which basically only inflates and deflates your lumbar support, but it can help with fatigue on longer road trips. Overall, the cabin is amazing, really feels upscale for a mainstream product. The driving position is great, visibility is also not too shabby, so Nissan did a very good job with cabin space overall. But did they do a good job with how this thing drives? Well, let's head into our favorite back road now and check it out. Okay, so we're behind the wheel of the new Murano. Big changes, no more V6, but also no more CVT. We have a 9-speed automatic transmission and a 2-liter VC turbo engine, so it's the one with variable compression that Nissan has been pushing in their vehicles for a while. Also, they started showing up in Infinity's lineup, and on paper it seems like a change for better. Everyone hated Nissan's CVTs, they were unreliable, so what did Nissan do? They gave you a conventional 9-speed automatic, but they also give you an engine that might be potentially unreliable. Now, there is so many things that are wrong with this powertrain. First, let's just slow down and stop. Launching off the line is not the smoothest. What do I mean by that? The throttle has very sharp calibration. For the first few seconds, nothing happens until the turbo kicks in. Once the turbo kicks in, the car starts going, and driving this thing is not the smoothest in terms of drivetrain calibration. The engine lacks refinement. It's not the smoothest engine. There are some torque dips. Sometimes it just doesn't deliver power the way I would expect from a $50,000 car. Also, the transmission, the shifts themselves are good. They're super smooth. You barely notice them, but for efficiency, the transmission pretty often goes to the higher gear possible. So when you wanna quickly speed up, it takes good 2 seconds for it to figure out which gear to go into, to downshift, and then again, you have a little bit of turbo lag, the engine starts delivering power and goes. It has plenty of torque for a 2-liter engine. It's actually very torquey, and I like that in 2-liter turbo 4 engines, but it just lacks refinement, and it may not ruin the driving experience, but can cause some annoyances on daily basis. So that's one thing you want to take under consideration when you drive this thing. Also, the engine isn't super fuel efficient for a groundbreaking technology. Around 20-ish miles per gallon in the city, maybe 22, 23 combined, 28 on a highway. Not groundbreaking, nothing that Nissan can really brag about. So if they want to continue developing this VC turbo technology, they have some homework to do, they have some improvements to do. Because besides that, the Murano is a pretty good SUV. It's actually great, and I like it more than I thought I would. We can very quickly talk about driving dynamics. Since we're on our favorite back road, we're gonna put it into sport mode. Wait for drivetrain to figure out what to do, and we have those FSD dampers, which work pretty well in the Murano. It's super comfortable. We're gonna get to that in a second, but also it handles better than I thought. Pretty good body control. It's not a total boat. It gives me a little bit of confidence going through those corners. And yeah, steering may not be super quick, but it is more enjoyable to drive than I thought. Now, there is some torque steer. The intelligent all-wheel drive, as Nissan calls it, doesn't work really that well. There is a delay in engaging rear axle. So sometimes when you're at a stop sign, you want to make a right turn, for example, turn the wheel, floor it, you're gonna get a lot of wheel spin, and then the rear axle will kick in. So again, drivetrain related, that needs some work to do. But when you drive it normally, you're really gonna appreciate how quiet it is, how refined the ride is, and it feels like a like an entry-level luxury product, which is a very big surprise, and I did not expect that from this generation Murano. I know the Pathfinder that Murano basically sits on its platform is a pretty comfortable family SUV. I expected Murano maybe to not offer the same level of comfort, but I can honestly say that this is very nice, and again, feels like an entry-level luxury product. The ride quality is great. The cabin isolation is also pretty good. We have active noise cancellation, we have laminated side windows, the driving position is great, the seats are super comfortable, and using this car is not frustrating. Yes, we have those haptic controls, but I actually got used to them quicker than I thought I would. We have all physical switches that we need, and if you're looking for a two-row SUV, you don't need it for your family. Maybe you're a little bit more mature person that only travels with their spouse and occasionally puts their grandkids in the back seat. This is gonna be amazing. It's gonna offer higher step-in height, pretty good ground clearance, and awesome design. Not gonna lie, Lexus. I thought it looks like a Lexus, but Nissan crushed it with the styling inside and out, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They figure out the driving dynamics portion, the ride comfort, the interior quality. So now it's time to put efforts into drivetrain. So with that, let's head into the final thoughts and summarize this thing. Okay, so let's sum up the new Murano. Nissan is in the middle of revamping their lineup, and on paper, the new Murano is great. It is an attractive design, spacious cabin, and fantastic driving comfort. Seriously, from a driving perspective, this feels like an entry-level luxury product, and Nissan didn't half-ass it, with the exception of the powertrain. The transmission needs to be retuned, and the engine is unrefined, not very fuel efficient, and that extra unnecessary complexity will probably mean problems down the line. Again, when you buy a car, you have to drive it yourself. You have to see how you feel behind the wheel, if it has all the space you need, and how you like it. You have to be the judge. I'm here to help, so if you have any questions, drop a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.